portion of the news brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Staff at a major commercial bank have been given 3 months' notice of job cuts as part of a cost-cutting exercise. CIBC, First Caribbean International Bank, is set to cut more than 60 jobs here in the Bahamas. Most of them are expected from the bank's operations center, which is reportedly being outsourced to Jamaica.
Now, we understand the staff was informed by letter yesterday of the layoffs. The letter reportedly noted that despite the bank's voluntary Bahamian separation package offered last October, from which we're told a number of persons applied, they have still moved to an involuntary redundancy phase to achieve the desired operational effectiveness targets. However, President of the Bahamas Financial Services Union, Theresa, Mortimer, blames the Bahamas not signing on to the Caribbean single market and economy's free movement of labor component. She points out that other employees in the region can follow their jobs to other countries if they choose to.
The operations is moving to Jamaica. That's the bank call. The union can say to the bank, how do you do your business and where you do your business. And whilst 16 other Caribbean brothers and more than CARICOM, so there's free movement of people. They can move for the job. Our folks cannot. They'll have to apply. They'll have to be accepted. They'll have to have the permit. And of course, it's going to be time.
But the move comes as no surprise to the union. Mortimer told ZNS News the union has been at the negotiating table since last year in an effort to cushion the blow.
The employees in the operations center was a bit upset. And I guess it's because our operations center has a lot of young people in it. Okay? And so they saw themselves as, what do I do? Oh, they're not going home empty-handed. They're not going home with the minimum requirement by the law. The union has sat down and we have a redundancy policy that will actually pay them 3 months. Even though they got 3 months notice, they will still be paid the 3 months notice, and they will get not 2 weeks for every year. They get 3 weeks for every year. So I think we are, and like I said, we're still sitting, we're still working.
The issue of legalizing the local gaming industry has now become a crucial concern for financial regulators like the Central Bank of the Bahamas, which fears that if the sector continues to go unmanned, it could put the Bahamas in a vulnerable position, subject to money laundering suspicions, blacklisting, and even fraud charges. It's an issue our Clint discussed with the gaming minister and a former finance state minister.
The society is better off if all activities within it are regulated.
Former State Minister for Finance, now CFAL Executive James Smith, is referring to the local gaming sector and the importance of regulating it. The sector has grown to much more than just a gaming forum, but in some cases, it has extended lines of credit, mortgage, and other loan services. But with this kind of unregulated financial exchange taking place, it could signal big problems for the regulatory agencies that must report to international bodies monitoring our jurisdiction and financial sector.
It's expected of us, of the Bahamas, as a part of the international community to regulate our financial services sector and everything that takes place in it. And we have up to now been introducing new laws, regulations, and best practices for the entire sector. And if we have an informal sector that is unregulated, sooner or later I think attention will be brought to bear on us.
Smith says it's not the gambling itself he's referring to, but the proceeds from the gaming that create an alternative financial market. Minister responsible for gaming, Obi Wilscombe, is of the view that there's been enough talk. Now it's time to regulate. He agrees that you cannot legislate morality, but accepts that the church has a role to play. However, he maintains they have a role too, and that is to govern.
We have a situation that's upon us, and as I've said, no government has effectively dealt with it. We have the opportunity, and we must. And to deal with it, we must regulate. We must regulate and cause some normalcy, and then that will cause our reputation to be higher. Because the worst thing to happen for us is to be blacklisted again, and for questions to be raised about money laundering. So we can't afford that. So what can we afford? We can afford to regulate, and that would be to the benefit of us all.
But make no mistake, the minister accepts that it's okay for church and state to agree to disagree.
The church knows that we hold it dearly. It knows that we respect it. It knows that we understand the growth of our country, the development of our country, and that is why the job that they do must always ensure that people move away from gaming. What we must do is understand the circumstances we're in, and if we don't deal with the circumstances, how much more it'll hurt all of us. So how can we cause for a situation to make good of? Well, the best way to deal with it is to regulate it. So
now, as to when those discussions will take place around the cabinet table is yet to be determined. However, observers suggest, based on what's happening in the industry, it could be sometime this year. Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.
Commercial airlines and the government reaching an agreement that could safeguard the Bahamas from losing any airlines that's providing service to our islands, and that at the same time could significantly increase air arrivals to the Bahamas. Minister of Tourism Obi Wolshcombe says what could have been a pullout by popular carriers has now been resolved thanks to the Ministry of Finance agreeing to not introduce or increase taxes. The accord allows the airlines to help boost passenger numbers and avoid tax increases.
Reduce the cost as was taxed before and put in a holding position, but they must be guaranteed, then have to guarantee us certain arrivals. So it's a win-win situation. They have to guarantee us arrivals, and we will allow a rebate upon the guarantee of the arrivals. Now we'll work on getting some guaranteed, causing some new growth. And when we think about what the Bahamas requires, you're not only talking about Grand Bahama and Nassau, you're also talking about places like San Salvador. In May this year, San Salvador will have direct flights coming from Canada. That's the first time that's ever happened. So we're continuing to grow the islands because economic sustainability will help our islands out of the difficulties that they're in and cause for growth and development.
A strong recommitment to enhancing the living standards over the Hill, especially the Farm Road community in Bain and Grantstown areas, which are hardest hit by crime. Prime Minister Perry Christie affirmed that pledge last evening, ensuring that the stronghold of crime is removed.
Mr. Christie, speaking at an urban renewal project naming the Alvin S. Moss Community Park, assured residents that much effort will be made to rid their surroundings of the growing crime problem.
No matter what is said, we are not going to compromise on our efforts to minimize the impact of crime and the fear of crime in this country. We are not going to allow a small group of young men to ruin the reputation of this country. It's not going to happen. And we will continue to add the resources, equipment, technology, and manpower to the Royal Bahamas Police Force so they will have added capacity to give the coverage to these communities that are necessary.
Now, the Alvin S. Moss Park is located on Sunlight Village and named in honor of Reverend Moss, who served as overseer of the Church of God of Prophecy for 40 years. Minister of Works and Urban Development Philip Davis explains the impact of the park on community enhancement.
This joint effort gives to the residential community a tool which will help develop those things which make for the common good. This will provide a safe and welcoming facility with greenery where young and old can come together, where children can play and the elderly can rest, share and reflect on times past. This is a place where the young can sit at the feet of seniors and learn about the history of our country and the history of our people, so that the young might develop a real sense of continuity, of being a part of something which is bigger than one individual.
National Overseer of the Church of God of Prophecy, Bishop Franklyn Ferguson, and daughter of the late Bishop Alvin Moss, Mrs. Roberta Hepburn, expressed gratitude and reflected on the works of the church.
We have ministered on this park many times, prayed with families many times, prayed with individuals many times, and have tried to communicate the gospel of peace to this entire area. Today we are therefore pleased to partner with urban renewal and the government in an effort to foster goodwill, good tidings, and strong communities and strong committed families. We are here to partner with you, and urban renewal is working. I say it again, urban renewal is working.
Tonight, I have one regret, that he is not here
to see what the Bahamas government and all of you who are responsible have done for him. I know my mother would have been proud, my sister Dorinda would have been proud, my brother Jack would have been proud. But I feel somehow that they are somewhere around here, looking down and smiling at what you have done. Let me assure you that we are humbled by this kind gesture demonstrated here tonight.
How good are your basketball skills, Andrew?
Not very good. Basketball is not my sport.
Well, mine are probably worse than yours, but we're looking at a live shot of where the action is at Hugh Campbell tonight, and we'll have a full report. Our Charles Fisher is coming up live next.
This portion of the news was brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.